Good morning. This is an important weekend in our sangha. There are 5 of us who will have a Bodhisattva Precepts Ceremony tomorrow. I mean, we will all have the ceremony if you'd like to come. Excuse me. This ceremony in Japanese is called Jukai and just means receiving the precepts. And in addition to receiving the precepts, you receive lineage papers. And the lineage papers are like they trace a red line from Shakyamuni Buddha through the ancestors, the Dharma ancestors, to you, and your Buddhist name will be put on the line. It's a bloodline. It's red. It's dramatic. Well, this line is half historical and half imagined. Whether it is historically accurate or not is not so important for us. It's, as practitioners, is not so important. This practice and this process of awakening have been engaged by many people. And we're intentionally joining this history of practice. It's like, you can think of this as your intentional family. You know, you're born into a biological family and you don't have much choice about that, or any. People have thoughts about this, but you don't have a choice about that. Let me take that view. And but here you're entering into a community of practitioners intentionally, and this bloodline lineage, this vertical lineage, is an expression of it, and then there's the horizontal expression of it in the sangha. So in addition to receiving the precepts, there is this intentional step into a community of practitioners, and into a transmission of teaching. And it's like saying yes to something that you're already doing. I usually only, agree to give the precepts to somebody who's already practiced for a while. This is not to hold anything back, but to have as a lived experience something that you then say intentionally yes to. Now the precepts are, and I think I should repeat them here for everybody if you're not familiar with them, they come in 3 batches. As the 3 refuges, in the refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the Buddha is historically the awakened one, but it is really your awakening mind. You're taking refuge in your own process of awakening, but it's like refuge is not shelter, you're not sheltering yourself from something, you are committing to it. You're saying yes, wholeheartedly yes to this process of awakening. That's taking refuge in the Buddha. And the Dharma is the, you could say the nature of reality, but it's just how reality works. Like, you can have a word like Dharma and be just confused about it. It just means that things are changing. Everything is changing. You have nothing to rely on. Everything, it's quite fleeting. I talked to an old friend and mentor of mine the other day, and he's getting older. You may know about that. And he's saying, oh yeah, the body's just falling apart. You know, that's a good Buddhist statement. The body is falling apart. It's impermanent. It doesn't last. How do you come to terms with that? That's the teaching. There's the nature of reality. This is how things are. And then there is our relating to it. That's also the Dharma. How do you relate to that? How can you be what already is the case? Impermanent, without suffering. And that things are interdependent. That's also the nature of reality. Nothing exists by itself. That's the Dharma. So you're committing to seeing how reality is and align yourself with it. Don't, cooperate with reality. Don't go against it. The way we go against it is with attachment and resistance. I don't like the body falling apart. That's resistance. That causes suffering. I mean, you can not like it. That's okay. But underneath it is this movement into acceptance. And then there's refuge in the sangha. We just talked about that. Be intentionally making yourself part of a community of practitioners who are walking this path. And then the second batch is the 3 pure precepts to refrain from unwholesome action, to do wholesome action, and to live for the benefit of all beings. You could say wholesome action is that kind of action that is in accord with reality, in accord with impermanence and interdependence. And unwholesome action is that action that is not in accord. And then there is the 10 grave precepts, and they point out the dimensions of unwholesome action, you could say. And they are an encouragement to refrain from that unwholesome action, from killing, from stealing, we say, from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from lying, from intoxication, from denigrating others and praising self, from being possessive, from harboring ill will, and from disrespecting the 3 treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It sounds kind of religious, don't disrespect the 3 treasures. It's like, you could say, just honor how important they are in your life. Don't poo-poo it. Like, oh, well, yeah, I should do that. Cooperating with the nature of reality is pretty important, because if you don't cooperate, you cause yourself suffering and you cause harm to others. Now these so-called grave precepts, the not killing, not taking what is not given, I think typically they land with us as a should or a should not, as like a parental commandment or something. Don't do that. our intentions pull us in all sorts of directions. Yeah? It says like, don't intoxicate body and mind. But, at the end of the day, it was stressful. Like, you just want to ease your mind, so, you drink a glass of wine or you smoke something. It's pretty benign, not a big deal. It can become a big deal. It's never in the beginning. Or you've done something bad, something you're ashamed of, and so you don't tell the truth about it. Or you are angry about something, somebody did something, and you can't let it go. You hold a grudge. You look at the other person as bad, and you feel justified in your judgment. And every time you have that thought, you are fueling your feeling of anger. And so it stays. These 10 grave precepts, my sense is they're very ordinary. They're about very ordinary actions. It's like what your mother would tell you. Hopefully. If she or your father didn't tell you, you find out for yourself. Sometimes if she told you, let's say, you didn't like it, you also have to find out for yourself. But it's pretty ordinary, and I think it's a strength. That's a good thing. It's not some fancy moral philosophy or something. It's just like ordinary admonitions. But like I said, I think they land with us, or they tend to land with us as a should. Do you know this feeling of a should? Let me just go into that a little bit. In my mind, it's called the structure of should. It's a very simple structure. There's a morally superior part in you that tells a morally inferior part, the guilty party, that you should be doing something. Like, eat your vegetables. No. Go exercise, or, don't drink so much. Be compassionate. You should be more compassionate, not so angry. I should donate something to charity, Don't be so possessive of your own, material belongings and your exaggerated sense of security. Like we have a voice, right? And it's talking to this other part. How well does that work for you? It's hard to let go, because if you let go of it, you're afraid then your unruly parts will just take over. So this critical moral part has a job to do. You might just keep doing the things you shouldn't be doing, but at least there is this part that reminds you that it's a bad thing. So you can feel a little more like a good human being. Like if that voice was absent, right, oh, now we have to worry. Now, I think that's not an insignificant structure. This let's call that's you are divided in yourself. You're not whole. And you're certainly not free. There's like a little guard, prison guard, watching over you and like trying to keep other parts in prison. But this dividedness that you experience in yourself is also the dividedness that you experience between yourself and other people. It's the same structure. You look at other people as good and bad, or their actions. And sometimes you don't just wag the finger at yourself, you wag the finger at other people. And that wagging of the finger, of the should, is separating. What's the way out of this? Like I said, there's no freedom here. The only door, I think, that there is for this problem is that you need to find out that you are already wanting to do the things that you should be doing. You need to find out that you're already wanting to say the truth. That you're already wanting to not take advantage of people, or denigrate them, or be overly possessive. Now, if I say that, right, if I say you need to find, the should is always lurking. Oh, I should be finding out that I already want, like, No, the teaching in Zen is that the precepts that land with us as a should are expressions of your Buddha mind. It's like, if you could access Buddha mind, the precepts would hold themselves naturally, as the Sukirashi said. They would naturally express themselves. And Buddha mind, right, is the awakened mind. This is, again, you can have fancy ideas about it, but that's not going to help. But I think it does help if you say, like, Buddha mind is that mind that already wants to protect life. That already doesn't want to take what is not given. That already wants to not lie. I assume that you know this mind. I'm not going to say you know it, because you live your own life. But I assume you know it. You also know it through how you feel a little yucky inside when you don't comply with it. That's actually creating this inner critic. Now, the way in our practice, in our lineage, the way we access this mind is through zazen. You sit and you let go of your identification with thinking, with the thoughts, the views that you hold about the world, and you are becoming intimate with your own embodied presence, with the aliveness of your breathing body, and the presence of your attentive mind. You don't have to have a big awakening experience to know that when you sit into this mind, it's softening. Your mind is softening. You become resonant with what is happening around you. The sounds feel more intimate. You can look at the flowering tree and feel intimacy. It's not just an object out there. Right? This is actually experienced interdependence. It's not like, oh, I'm thinking about interdependence. It's felt. You feel that, what surrounds you matters and is alive and deserves respect. So you don't want to harm it. So zazen has this kind of quality, but it's elusive. It's like, I feel a little funny pointing it out because it's like, it's a little corny if you say, oh yeah, it's connectedness. The words are all used too much. But when you access the feeling, it's fresh. It's enlivening. It rescues you from a mind that separates you and is kind of hard-edged. So that's why regular zazen practice is important. And that's why I usually don't want to give the precepts to someone who isn't sitting zazen regularly, because then the basis of the precepts is not there. Then I'm just feeding the should, the structure of should. I don't want to do that. I think the ceremony is beautiful, but if the ceremony is an expression of like somehow the tradition shouting you, shooting you, telling you to be a good person, I'm not interested in that. So you can, once you know this mind, you can savor it, recognize it in yourself, and then zazen can be the way that you connect with it. Every day, or once a week, or whatever your regularity is. And you can begin to trust it, because you will lose it. And the losing of it is part of your practice. It's not failure, it's just normal. Not that it's desirable, but it's normal. We wouldn't need a practice if there wasn't the losing of that mind. So we have the practice because we're human beings. So you incorporate the loss of this mind as a reminder to return. And so let me think with you about two things: trust and repentance. Repentance is I don't use words like this very often, but I'll do it. Trust. What do you trust? Do you trust your ordinary mind that has all kinds of intentions pulling you in various directions? Or do you trust this soft, kind, compassionate mind that arises? Which mind is telling you what to do? Well, both are. They're sort of in competition. That's what's like happening in the structure of should. But that soft, kind mind is not a hard-edged inner critic. It's a source of orientation. Suzuki Roshi calls it, this is your inmost request. This is what you discover what you really want. How you really want to use your aliveness. That's implicit in that mind. You may not be able to pull it out conceptually and make a declarative statement about what you really want, but you can feel it. And as you feel it, it tells you what not to do. You know, we have, in the West, we have a concept for this. It's your conscience, right? But anyway, words have a history, and sometimes the history gets in the way. I mean, for me, at least, it's like the conscience is sort of it's in your head, and it looks down on you, or it's like made into some sort of religious entity, and I'm not adverse to, it's that function, but how do you locate it in your experience? So now I'm saying this soft, resonant, kind mind that can arise from your zazen practice has this orienting quality. But it will only have this orienting quality if you trust it as your orientation. And that trust means you want to return to it. You can count on losing it, but you can trust that you can develop the skill to return to it. This is what makes a good practitioner. I found this, I think, quite beautiful verse that comes from the Samantabhadra Sutra. All karmic hindrances arise from delusive thought. To repent, sit upright, and be aware of the true nature of reality. Interdependence, impermanence, undividedness. All faults and evil are like frost and dew. The sun of wisdom lets them melt away. Wisdom is not some sort of smartness, right, here. Wisdom is your insight into the nature of reality, your felt realization that life really is impermanent and interdependent, and that we do live in undividedness. This insight is called wisdom. And this wisdom, like I think I've just said that in this talk, this wisdom melts away your karmic tendencies of wanting to do the things you shouldn't do. Not as some sort of grand act of moral accomplishment. It's just melts. I love that image, it just melts away. It's not there. You don't do it. The refraining is effortless. Like, from the inside of undividedness, the refraining is effortless. You're not accomplishing anything. You can't say like, oh, I did so good. No, you're just not doing it. You're just telling the truth. You just respect the aliveness of your body and don't, complicate it with intoxicants. It's not an achievement. It's an expression. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you can treat it as, if you treat it too much as an achievement, you become possessive of your, you shouldn't do that. No. You don't want to do that. And you can start watching out how this structure of should just creeps in, and what's the door into a freer expression of it, which is accessing the mind that already wants to act this way. Now, something that I think doesn't get a lot of attention in our Zen culture is sometimes there's just a lot of emphasis on naturalness and spontaneity. It's like, oh, if you realize this Buddha mind, then naturally you will be, expressing it through morally sound action, ethical conduct. I don't think it's that easy. Why do I think that? Because we need to learn how to express it. There are actual skills involved. You have to have adult skills for that. You can have the sentiment, right, and not know how to act from it competently. I know that in myself. There are sort of habits of actions that will just take over. That you've always done it that way. What's wrong with that? You accept yourself, basically. That's a good thing. And yet it's not fully competent in, it's not fully developed skill in expressing your awakened mind. What do you do about that? Where do you learn? Where's the school? Well, the school is your daily interactions. And also your discerning mind is like, please allow yourself to be inspired by people who do things well. It's like this wisdom mind is also paying attention. It's paying attention to how how human beings can interact skillfully with each other. It's like you just want to let yourself absorb that. Just let yourself absorb that. Not as like, oh, I need to learn and I need to... But just notice the situations in which that naturally occurs. It can be, simple, small situations. Like one that I have in mind is like, I think I was like 8 years old and I was like joining the energy of the boys I have a twin sister. And I was being mean, And I think as a child, I'm watching my son now, how can I say, you don't really know, right? You're just a bundle of energy, and you don't really know, and you're susceptible, and you just like get thrown around and do this and that. And it's difficult to see that's why I said it's like your zazen has to be accompanied or also grow up into a set of adult skills. Like it's not a given. It's like it needs a certain sensitivity that keeps absorbing what right action is. So my sister just acted differently. And yeah, and it's stuck in my memory. And so what I'm saying is like you can use little moments that are pivots in your own life to notice both how orientation toward ethical action has grown in you, and also the, what can I say, ignorance or neglect that turned you away from it or allowed you to be unaware. It's a little painful. To see it. But it's different. I think it's a very different dynamic from like wagging the finger at yourself. So what I'm trying to do today is like point out what sort of is underneath the precepts as a kind of felt territory. Right, so tomorrow when we do the ceremony, it has this kind of formal expression, but I want to encourage you to avoid taking the ceremony as a kind of dressed up version of your of this structure of should. But more as a door into a more explicit expression of trusting your own awakening mind. Thank you very much.